I don't know. I don't want to touch her, but...
Listen to me. Is she breathing?
I don't know.
You need to check and see. Is she breathing?
I don't think so.
Okay, listen to me.
There's blood everywhere.
10 Minute Murder contains depictions of actual crimes. What you are about to hear is real and violent in nature. Discretion is advised. This is 10 Minute Murder.
Welcome to the brief and bingeable true crime podcast, 10 Minute Murder. I'm Joe, and thank you for listening today. If you're new here, there are drinks and snacks in the kitchen. Help yourself. But more importantly, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. The more people listening and subscribing, the better snacks I can afford to put in the kitchen. Right now, there's at least one person saying, what kitchen is he talking about? There's no kitchen. Calm down. I mean, I have a kitchen, but you can't have my snacks. Okay, so now that we're all confused, let's get to today's story. The body of Faith Hedgepeth, an undergraduate student in her third year at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, was found in her apartment by a friend on the morning of September 7th, 2012. She had been beaten to death over the head with a blunt instrument, later found to be an empty liquor bottle. And evidence of a male DNA was present at the crime scene. The last time she was known for certain to be alive was much earlier that morning, when she went to bed after returning from a local nightclub with her roommate. Those details sound simple and straightforward, but that's the only thing in this case that makes sense. Faith Hedgepeth hoped to be the first in her family to graduate from college. After undergraduate studies, she was considering further studies to become a pediatrician or teacher. Her first 2 years at the university went well for her, although she took the spring of 2012 semester off. She remained in the area over the summer, living in an off-campus apartment. She planned to move into another apartment after her financial aid for the fall semester was available. She shared the apartment with a friend she made freshman year, Karina Rosario, and Karina's boyfriend, Eric Tacoy Jones. The relationship between Jones and Rosario had been rough, to put it lightly. There was repeated domestic violence, which made Karina in the relationship and kick him out of the apartment. He twice attempted to break in after that, so the remaining two roommates, Faith and Karina, went to court for a protective order against Jones, requiring him to keep away from their apartment. After that, Jones resented Faith for her influence she had over Karina, at one point threatening Hedgepeth, saying he'd kill her if he could not get back with Karina. The evening of September 6, 2012, a Thursday, began at 5:45 p.m., with Hedgepeth attending a rush event for the campus chapter of Alpha Phi Omega. At 8:15 she left, saying she had to work on a paper she was writing. She and Rosario went to the university's Davis Library to study together at 8 p.m. Between 8:30 and 9, she exchanged text with her father about her hopes to join the sorority. Hedgepeth left Rosario there briefly and returned around 11:30, after which they returned to their apartment together, arriving there around midnight. A half hour later, they left again, heading to The Thrill, a downtown nightclub that lets you in even if you aren't old enough to drink. Faith and Karina got there about 12:40 a.m., danced for about an hour, and Karina's stomach started to hurt. She wanted to leave. So at 2:06 a.m., security cameras showed them walking out of The Thrill. It was the last visual record of Faith Hedgepeth's presence anywhere before the murder. By 3 a.m., Hedgepeth and Rosario had returned to their apartment. A woman who lived below the two was awake watching television and said she heard 3 thumping noises, which she described as similar to a heavy bag being dropped or furniture being overturned shortly afterward. Faith's Facebook page was also accessed around that time. At 3:40 a.m., a text was sent from Hedgepeth's phone to that of Brandon Edwards, a former boyfriend of hers, saying, "Hey B, can you come over here please? Rosario needs you more than you know. Please let her know you care." That was the last evidence of activity from her phone. At 4:16 a.m., Edwards sent a return text asking who sent the previous text. Rosario's phone records show she was also trying to call Edwards around the same time. He didn't answer. So then she called Jordan McCrary, a soccer player she knew. At 4:25 a.m., she left the apartment to get in McCrary's car. At At that time, Rosario said later she believed Hedgepeth was asleep in her room and left the apartment door unlocked. Pause. So she left the door unlocked to an apartment where they had recently had to get a restraining order against someone for domestic violence and attempting to break in, not to mention the fact that he said he wanted to kill Faith. She just left the door unlocked. So, McCrary drove Rosario to the home of another acquaintance on West Longview Street in Chapel Hill. She put the time of her arrival there around 4:30 a.m. After spending the rest of the night and the early morning there, a short time after 10:30 a.m., she began trying to arrange a ride home. After attempting to reach Faith, who did not answer, Rosario instead called another friend, Marisol Rangel, who came and took her back to her apartment. When they arrived there, shortly before 11 a.m., they entered and called for Hedgepeth. No response. In her bedroom, they found her bloodied body, wrapped in a quilt, her shirt pulled up, and naked from the waist down.
Dial 911, where is your emergency?
I just walked into my apartment and my friend is just like, he's unconscious. He's unconscious. I just walked in the apartment and there looks like there's blood everywhere.
Listen to me. Somebody's already sending the ambulance. Okay, I need to get some information from you, and I'm going to tell you how to help her. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. How old is she?
She's 19. I don't know. I don't want to touch her, but.
Listen to me. Is she breathing?
I don't know.
You need to check and see. Is she breathing?
I don't think so.
Okay, listen to me.
There's blood everywhere.
There's what?
There's blood everywhere. I don't know what happened.
Is she on her back or is she laying on her stomach?
She's on her back, but I think she fell off the bed because she's off bed. There's blood all over the pillows, in the comforter. I just don't know what happened.
I need for you to help her. I need for you to go up to her. We need to see if she's breathing or not. Okay?
I don't think so.
The paramedics are on their way. I want you to stay on the line. I'm going to tell you what to do next, all right? Are you right by her now?
Yes.
Listen carefully.
Moving.
She's not moving. Okay.
No.
Will you touch her arm? Tell me, how does she feel?
She's not moving.
Okay, ma'am, we need to find out if we can help her or not. Lay her flat on her back.
Lay her flat on her back.
Kneel next to her, look in her mouth for food or vomit.
Blood everywhere.
Okay, kneel next to her, look in her mouth for food or vomit. Tell me something. Listen to me. What is your name?
Karina. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
It's okay, honey. Listen to me.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Listen to me. When you touched her, how does she feel? Does she feel warm?
No, she feels cold.
She feels cold? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Don't touch anything else. Okay. I want you to go back into the living room, okay?
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, listen
to me. In my room that was not here before.
Okay,
it looks
listen
like
to
someone
me.
that came in here.
Okay.
It really does.
All right. What did you say your name was again?
Here.
Tell me again what your name is.
It looks like someone had been in there because she's not the cell. I don't know what.
Okay. I've let them know. We've got everybody on the way to help you. Now, tell me again what your name is.
What?
What is your name?
Karina Rosario.
Karina?
Yes.
Details of the investigation were not discussed publicly at first. The town obtained a court order sealing all records as they were collected. Police collected semen from the scene and used it to develop a DNA profile. It was consistent with male DNA found elsewhere in the apartment. The autopsy determined that Hedgepeth died from blunt force trauma to the head, likely the result of being hit by an empty liquor bottle in the apartment. Jones seemed to be a very strong suspect from the beginning. Police learned of his history of domestic violence and his threat against Hedgepeth. They also found that the night before, around 6 p.m., he had texted an acquaintance asking for forgiveness, quote, "for what I'm about to do," and then posted that same message on his Twitter feed. 3 days later, he changed the banner on his Facebook page to read, "Dear Lord, forgive me for all my sins and the sins I may commit today. Protect me from the girls who don't deserve me and the ones who wish me dead today." Police wanted a DNA sample from Jones, whom they thought was a person of interest. After initially resisting, he complied. His DNA did not match the sample from the apartment, and they excluded him as a suspect. DNA from Edwards and many other men whom police found had been at the Thrill during the same time as Rosario and Hedgepeth was also tested, with the same result. Within days, the community offered a combined $29,000 in reward money for information leading to an arrest. Police hoped the reward money would lead to a quick resolution of the case, as their resources were limited. 2 months later, the office of Governor Bev Perdue added another $10,000 to the reward for Hedgepeth's killer. As the investigation continued, a local newspaper reporter named Tom Gasparoli thought that the 911 call raised more questions. He said, "To me, the whole call reeks of unusual." Gasparoli raised the possibility that Rosario's friend, Marisol Rangel, whose voice sounds to him more like the caller, was the real caller, and if it was Rosario, she never mentions that Rangel accompanied her to the apartment. The caller also does not mention Hedgepeth's name, only describing the body she has come upon as her friend. And why does the caller seem reluctant to touch Faith's body, despite repeated pleas from the dispatcher to at least see if she is still breathing? As of this recording, the case is still open. Police are still following leads, but the killer that used an empty liquor bottle to beat Faith Hedgepeth to death is still out there somewhere. And that's today's 10-Minute Murder, the brief and bingeable true crime podcast. And just so you know, I only played a portion of that 911 call. The whole thing is about 8 minutes long, but you heard the most important parts. Thanks for listening today, and as a reminder for being in this little community of weirdos that keep up with true crime stories, if you have friends that have never heard of 10-Minute Murder, tell them about it. A special thank you to Tammy, who I think has shared the podcast with more people than I have 5 times over. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.